everybody, welcome back. Today we have a special fashion edition all about some of the most iconic wedding dresses of all time. Because weddings don't happen very often, for many people it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's a very, very special occasion in which you pick the dress, right? Now it's a lot more popular to have 2 or 3, even sometimes more wedding dresses, and even having multiple celebrations for a single wedding is now a lot more common. But it used to be just the one. And that still is true for a lot of people. It's just the one, especially people who don't have tons of expendable income. Like celebrities we see have 3 or 4 different dresses and 2, 3, 4 day long celebrations. Wonderful, fabulous for them. But for most people, it's still just one day and one dress, which makes it all the more important to choose the perfect one for you. So many ladies take their inspiration from some of the most iconic and beautiful brides they have ever seen. So while a bride may have been married 100 years ago, the dress itself can still be extremely profound to today's bride's choices, which is why the most famous and iconic wedding dresses are so famous, so iconic, and so impactful. Royal brides especially seem to wield massive power with their wedding gowns, inspiring looks for generations to come, especially those that have the most timeless of looks. At the end of today's video, we dive deep into the late great Queen Elizabeth's wedding dress and the most special stories in regards to her dress and its journey. First, let's dive into one of the most iconic brides in history, Grace Kelly. She was a Philadelphia native and a Hollywood actress before she married Prince Rainier III of Monaco on April 19, 1956. She was known for her understated and classic style, which inspired an entire fashion phenomenon known as the Grace Kelly look. That means ladies were dressing like her and taking cues from her fashion sense and inspired by her style before she became a royal bride. So you know her wedding dress was going to carry a lot of weight. Her wedding dress was actually a gift from MGM Studios, which she had worked with on several films, and it was designed by an Academy Award-winning costume designer named Helen Rose, who had created Grace's wardrobe across 4 different films. So the ladies knew each other well, and Helen had a good understanding of Grace's body proportions and type and style already, which is great. When you have a longer history with someone before they go to design your wedding dress, I would imagine you'd have a much greater success of it being like exactly what you wanted and perfect for you and really simpatico with your vibe than if you go to somebody different or you're buying off the rack. You know, you don't have that advantage of it being quite as custom and special to you and exactly what you wanted, but that's probably contributed greatly to the success of Grace Kelly's dress that the woman designing it knew her so well. The goal of the dress was to complement the bride's fairy princess image. It was made with silk veil, antique Brussels lace embellished with pearls, which might be my personal favorite detail, that the lace itself was embellished with these pearls. And after the wedding, Grace donated it to the Philadelphia Museum of Art, where it is still displayed. It's one of their most popular and cherished attractions. An absolutely gorgeous and stunning dress. It was the 50s, so it definitely had the silhouette and a lot of the materials and design elements that you would expect from a wedding dress of the times. It looked like it was made for her. It looked like she belonged in it. It was so seamless with her as a woman that it made it one of the most successful and timeless wedding looks ever to be made. If there was one thing that I would change now, it would be the cummerbund looking waistline here. For me personally, I just wish that it was maybe a little less bulky in its appearance because it just looks a little bit big. Now she had the figure to pull this off, like it didn't make her look wider or anything like that at all, especially because it had such a big voluminous full skirt. You know, that definitely counterbalanced the slightly bulkier waistband, but I just don't love the cummerbund look, but that's just me. Overall, it was an incredibly beautiful look, and it did emulate princess and elegance and grace. The veil is also beautiful. It flows really great with this look overall. We don't have like a big discrepancy between the veil and the train. It's a very cohesive look, which also benefits its timelessness. And what more could a bride wish for than for decades on brides to still be inspired by their dress, which they are, by Grace Kelly's dress. It is truly a forever beautiful dress. I really also like the length of the veil in front. When the veil is down in the front, it just hits right here at this perfect length, which just accentuates her waistline really nicely and frames her really beautifully. I also love the buttons down the front. I'm obsessed with that. I think more modern versions might use a skirt fabric or, you know, a silk that's going to be a little bit less wrinkly and maybe a little less stiff looking. The skirt doesn't have as much of flow and movement as brides tend to gravitate towards these days. But even today, like even recently, like Naomi Biden wore an absolutely stunning dress. I'm obsessed with her dress. It is so beautiful for her wedding, and it's very much Grace Kelly inspired, people could say. And then of course, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who had an iconic wedding dress herself, which is one of my personal favorite wedding dresses of all time. It were the best wedding dresses I've ever seen, ever. Her dress was also, many people say, inspired by Grace Kelly's dress. Now, just because a dress has a lace top does not automatically make it a Grace Kelly inspired dress. However, she did have one of the most famous dresses to be lace on top. Next, let's take a look at Queen Camilla's wedding dress, her second wedding dress. She married King Charles in 2005, and keeping with tradition and showing respect to the church and the people, Camilla opted to wear a gorgeous hat and headpiece instead of a tiara, as it's traditionally done for first-time brides. But now we've seen the Meg wear a tiara for her third wedding. Looking back, it actually gives quite the air of humility around Camilla that she didn't push for a tiara. If she had requested one, she may have been granted access to one. Mind you, Princess Anne also did not wear a tiara when she married Sir Timothy Lawrence. But the fact that Camilla didn't go for the tiara and also made some other really strategic, you could say, or just thoughtful choices when it came to her and Charles's wedding, when it came to what she wore as the bride, kind of shows that she was actually quite humble in this experience, that she really was just wanting to have a special day to be married to Charles. She wasn't necessarily after all the extra stuff. Now King Charles, then the Prince of Wales, had a civil ceremony and a religious blessing at St. George's Chapel. And for the civil ceremony, she wore this cream silk chiffon dress and a Philip Treacy hat. For the blessing, she wore a gold feather headpiece, also by the same designer, and a pale blue chiffon dress with a matching overcoat featuring gold embroidery, which was absolutely stunning. This was a beautiful, beautiful pair of dresses here. I particularly love how the feather headpiece ties in perfectly with the dress itself. She wore something blue, which was really sweet. It still felt bridal without being stark white. And even the white dress that she wore for the civil ceremony was off-white. It was cream, technically. It was not true white color. Showed that they were putting the respect for the church, for the people. Those things took precedence over all the other details. As future king, if he really wanted to have a big wedding, if she really wanted to have a big wedding in a tiara and wear a white dress, they could have done whatever they wanted, but they chose not to, which shows a great deal of self-awareness. It actually paints them in a better light. I know at the time people were not real jazzed about it, and I know some people are still kind of mad about their relationship or whatever, but the fact that they went ahead and did their wedding and their marriage in this approach really shows that they valued and respected the whole situation and that they were thoughtful in their approach. I've very much been wondering lately if Meghan and Harry would have had a very, very different relationship with the public if they had gone a similar route. If they had done a smaller wedding, a quieter situation, if they had not done the whole big, huge to-do, if Meghan had not done white, if all of these things, you know, not done the veil, maybe not even done a tiara, if they had just done something like this, it would have really shown impeccable character for them as a couple. It would have shown what really mattered. I thought that they were going to be the type to do a lot of like tours and be like out in the wilderness and hanging out with wildlife and stuff. That was kind of the impression that I had gotten at first, and it just turned out to be the exact opposite. So I was a little surprised by that at first, because I definitely thought like they were setting themselves up to have that vibe of like the down-to-earth couple that didn't care about all the pomp and circumstance and didn't care about you know, being in the limelight. I thought they were going to be like that. And they just really aren't that way at all. They're the opposite. But it makes me wonder if, and I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments, if they had done things differently, if you think people would have received them differently, even if there was like some dramas or things like that, if they had done a smaller like civil ceremony and blessing combo, or just done a smaller, more private wedding, if you guys think it would have changed the first impressions that people were getting. I don't know. Plus, it would have given her the opportunity to do something off-white for a civil ceremony, and also something like really cool and interesting and beautiful, like something with cool color and just gorgeous embroidery or something. I don't know. It could have been something really, really neat. But I definitely think it would have endeared Meghan to the public a lot more, a lot better. But instead, we had this really drama-filled, overdone, ultimately pointless grandstanding of a wedding that just didn't work out so great. But I thought Camilla's choices were really flattering to her. This blue overcoat and dress are really gorgeous. Both of these looks flatter her nicely. They are humble choices that really, to me, display that the value of the day was with them and that it was a precious time for them. And I love how happy Charles looks here. I love how happy they both look, but he just looks like his whole face is lit up here. I mean, you can't take away from that. I like their support for each other. I like how happy they seem. And Charles seems really kind of sensitive to me. He comes off as like a sensitive guy. And so I'm just really happy to see that he's happy and has his love. So I'm glad. On to Queen Elizabeth II's wedding gown. She married Prince Philip on November 20th, 1947. She was only 21 years old, and it was just a few short years before she became queen. Her dress was made by Norman Hartnell, and it took over 350 workers in total to complete it in time, because they did not begin work on it until August, which left them only 3 months to get it done. Also, Elizabeth didn't try it on until the day of the wedding, because she was following the tradition that it would be unlucky to try the dress on beforehand, which is just adorable. I didn't realize that that was a thing, I guess. I didn't know, because I've always seen ladies like being fitted in their dresses lots and lots and lots. Cute. So this was only 2 years after World War II, so everybody was on ration coupons. To buy clothes and whatnot, you had to have coupons for it, or vouchers, and they gave her 200 extra voucher coupons. But something that I thought was super adorable and sweet were that other ladies around Britain were sending their voucher coupons to the palace to help her pay for her dress, because she was already that much of a beloved figure in Britain that people wanted to help donate their coupons to her and help her pay for them, even though they needed those coupons. They were still sending them, but that's actually illegal. So they had to send them back to the original sender. At the time, Princess Elizabeth, I mean, I don't think I've ever said that, but she was Princess Elizabeth. I've only ever known her as Queen. But at the time, Princess Elizabeth wanted the wedding and the dress to be a symbol of hope and unity for Britain, which is why she included so many special details like the garlands of spring flowers embroidered throughout to symbolize new beginnings. Also embroidered with wheat, roses, and star-shaped flowers in gold and silver thread. And I feel like embroidery really needs to come back, you guys. I feel like I've seen less and less of it on wedding gowns and just clothes in general. I feel like there's less embroidered things, which makes sense because that was something done by hand, very time-consuming. But I mean, it's really beautiful, special touch for a wedding dress to be embroidered like that. Her train was 15 feet long, which seemed really long at the time, but Diana's was 25 feet long, so blew that out of the water. As a surprise, Norman embroidered a 4-leaf clover on the skirt on the left side of her dress, right where her left hand would rest on the skirt, which was really sweet. He embroidered it there for luck as a surprise to her. And she wore satin open-toed shoes that he also designed, and the gown is allegedly quite heavy too. He was inspired by the painting Primavera, which is a mythological artwork depicting Flora, the goddess of spring, and Venus, the goddess of love. It was made with Duchess satin, which was difficult to find and more expensive at the time. And the fact that Britain itself, like the people of Britain, were so excited for this wedding, and it was such a big deal, and it was something so widely celebrated across the nation and the Commonwealth and really the world. It was a huge deal everywhere. But it just showed how much people already loved her and what a pure soul she really was, that everybody was already just wanting her happy and to share in her joy, and it continued throughout her entire reign in life. But it's also kind of representative of the way she approached her reign, and it kind of explains the environment that she came from and that she became queen in, being one more like this, that she just felt so connected with people. And it explains why she cared so much and why she was such a successful queen. She wore the Queen Mary fringe tiara, which actually snapped the morning of the wedding. So talk about crisis. They had to put it back together really quickly, have a jeweler come and mend it really quickly. So there's a slight gap you can see between the diamond pieces here. But the tiara was actually made from a diamond necklace given by Queen Victoria for her wedding in 1893. The train of the dress was attached at the shoulders and was a magnificent 13-foot embroidered silk tulle full court train. The dress was made with Duchess satin, silk tulle, seed pearls, crystal beads, and silver thread. And some parts of the dress, like in the train especially, had begun to decay a little bit over time. So now they actually know to avoid that particular type of silk for these types of historical garments that you would like to preserve, because it's not holding up as good. And also, the train having this ivory silk net embroidered with pearl beads and whatnot was quite heavy as well. So it kind of has pulled on the weave of the silk a little bit. Her parents gifted her the Queen Caroline and the Queen Anne pearl necklaces to wear on her wedding day. And she also wore the Duchess of Tex earrings, which were these beautiful big pearls with diamonds around. And the dress itself has this sweetheart neckline and a full skirt and fitted sleeves, which was very much a perfect silhouette for the times, but it was also just a really, really beautiful and flattering piece for her. She had a great figure, a tiny little waist, and she's a little bit busty. So it allowed for the room for this dress to be comfortable and still look really proportionate, and it was just a gorgeous option for her. It looked beautiful and regal, but it also didn't look overdone and over the top. She wasn't being swallowed up by it and eaten by loads and loads of puffs and fabrics and ruffles. To Queen Elizabeth's bouquet, Martin Longman was the florist, and he made an arrangement including 3 kinds of British-grown orchids for her bouquet, which was all white, with a sprig of myrtle grown from the same myrtle used in Princess Victoria's bouquet, which is super sweet. But Elizabeth's bouquet went missing after the ceremony, so they ended up taking some of their portraits like a whole week later with a substitute or replacement bouquet, which is crazy. Who has her bouquet? Who took it? Where is it? Nobody found out. This was one of the first truly iconic wedding dresses of the modern era. And at the time, Princess Elizabeth's dress inspired wedding dresses for decades to come, including in some ways that of Grace Kelly, Diana, and Catherine. I absolutely loved the Queen's wedding dress. I don't know that I would change anything about it either. I think that it was absolutely perfect and absolutely perfect for her, and it's so special and so gorgeous. So I've been doing wedding dress special fashion editions about once a month or a little bit longer, maybe closer to 6 weeks or so here and there in between. So next time I definitely want to dive into Princess Diana's dress. But who else would you like to see included in that video? Please leave it in the comments and let me know how you enjoyed today's video. I hope you have a very happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for being here. Bye!